It's now 2 a.m., and my wife Louise should have been here about 30 minutes ago. We had agreed that she would be back by 12:30. She was out with her colleagues from work. They were celebrating together at a restaurant and bar. Her company just completed a major project, one that everyone in her office had been working on. According to what Louise told me, a group of around 10 people were part of this project. I texted her roughly 30 minutes ago, but I haven't received any reply yet. However, I'm not overly concerned. Louise is an independent woman with a strong personality. She can be temperamental and, at times, a bit stubborn, so I'm not too worried about her night out with her coworkers. She knows how to handle herself. Plus, I'm familiar with most of her colleagues, at least enough to make small talk. Of course, they all know me too from various office parties. The only one I haven't met is her boss. He rarely attends these gatherings. Let me give you a bit of background on Louise and me. We met 6 years ago. I was 26, and she was 19 when we first crossed paths. I was on a month-long vacation in Mexico when I ended up lost in a rough part of Mexico City. I wandered into a nearby bar, and as soon as I stepped inside, I noticed a stunning Mexican woman looking up at me from behind the counter. In that moment, it felt as if time had stopped. It was as though nothing else mattered. Our eyes met, and that was it. She came over, embraced me, and kissed me right there. I was hers from that instant. Call it fate, love at first sight, whatever you want, it was real. Louise introduced herself with broken English, and I did my best in broken Spanish. We sat down, and I explained my situation using Google Translate. She grabbed my hand and led me to the back of the bar where her parents were. There was a lot of gesturing, shouting, and cheerful translating. It turned out her parents had also met and fallen in love at first sight, so when Louise explained that she had experienced the same with me, they just looked at each other, shrugged, and decided to humor her. I later learned that Louise's parents had met in a bar just like we did, got married the next day, and have been together for 50 years. Fast forward a month, and Louise Alonso, a beautiful Mexican woman with long black hair, a graceful figure, a gorgeous face, and stunning features, became Mrs. Louise Smith. My family, friends, and parents were initially skeptical of her, but she quickly won them over. Now, my parents call her their daughter, my friends consider her a part of our circle, and both our families refer to her as one of their own. However, everyone agreed on the necessity of a strong prenuptial agreement, including Louise. If she were ever unfaithful, she would leave with only what she brought from Mexico, just her clothes, a bit of money, and not much else. That said, in our 6 years of marriage, Louise has never once given me a reason to doubt her loyalty. She comes home when she says she will. When she goes out with friends, she texts me if she needs a ride, usually before midnight. We go on dates often, and I know men approach her all the time. She's incredibly beautiful, and when we're out at bars or clubs, men frequently ask her to dance or offer to buy her drinks. But she only dances with me and only accepts drinks from close friends or family. I'm aware that when people meet and marry quickly like we did, their relationship typically doesn't last. But ours has defied the odds. We're not just spouses, we're best friends, lovers, and partners by choice. We don't have kids, so we have the freedom to travel and do whatever we want. I work as a warehouse manager, and Louise is the assistant to the chairman of a massive, multi-billion-dollar corporation. We have an honest and strong marriage. If problems arise, we work through them together. We never let things simmer. Our love life is vibrant. We make love whenever we want, wherever we can. I'd been delaying calling her because I didn't want to come across as the typical overbearing husband checking in on his faithful wife. But now it's 1 a.m., and I've had enough. I sent her one final text before making the call, Louise, it's 1 a.m., and I'm waiting for you. I'm concerned. Please send me a message. I left a voicemail. It felt a bit passive, I know, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Almost immediately, a message came through, along with a video of my wife walking somewhere. Sorry, love. I had to help clean up and lost track of time. I'm having my last drink and will head home soon. Things are winding down here, she said. In the video, she was wearing a simple knee-length evening dress with thick shoulder straps. I could see her holding her high-heeled shoes and jacket. The dress was low-cut, showing some cleavage. I replied, "All right, my love. I see you've taken off your shoes. Did you dance a lot?" Louise texted back, "Yes, the gentleman who asked me was an excellent dancer. We danced together for a while, and then we left the bar. I did let him do a few things, but nothing I didn't want." Checking our phone locator app, I realized she was now at the hotel next to the restaurant. I texted, "You're at the hotel, aren't you? Are you meeting your dance partner?" She responded quickly, "Yes, as a matter of fact. He took something of mine, and it's chilly under this dress. I need it back." Apparently, he decided to keep it after our time together in the restaurant's coat check room, not the most romantic spot, but we both enjoyed it. She added, "The looks we got from my coworkers as we left were priceless. Oh, and I hope he covers the dry cleaning bill because this dress is a mess." I replied, "So, where are you headed now?" Louise texted back, "Actually, the man I danced with and who slept with me in the coat room mentioned the hotel room. He said he'd wait for me there and only open the door if I stood outside and took off my dress. It's a vulgar request, but he insisted." I noticed from the locator that she was moving, possibly in the elevator. "Well, you'd better hurry to him. He's probably impatient and very excited by now. You've made him wait longer than he expected," I replied. Louise wrote back, "Oh, don't worry. He'll be well compensated for his patience. As for what I've been doing, let's see, I had to stop my boss from calling the police. My dance partner was very possessive, wouldn't let other men dance with me, and one guy didn't take no for an answer. He's now missing a few teeth, and his arm might be broken. It was nice being protected for a change. However, maybe he was just a bit too protective." I realized she was now somewhere high up. "All right, I'm at the door of the Penthouse suite," she messaged, "the one my dance partner mentioned he booked. Hopefully, he'll appreciate me showing up like this. I'm taking off my dress now, oops, forgot I'm not wearing any underwear. I hope you won't mind, though I think being completely naked will be cheeky and fun at the same time." Just then, my phone rang. I answered it, and my wife practically screamed through the speaker, "Gary, open the damn door now." I sprang off the bed, which was scattered with rose petals, and dashed to the door. Louise fell into my arms, kissed me fiercely, then pushed me into a chair. She unzipped my jeans and tugged down my underwear. Louise let out a gasp as I lifted her slightly and, her hard. After we pulled away from each other, we just hugged tightly. Then she got up and hurried to the bathroom. "Gary, you're rude," she said in mock irritation. "Sorry, Louise, but if you weren't so sexy, I wouldn't always want you," I laughed. "That's true," she admitted with a smile. "I love it when you can't get enough of me. I love you forever, my handsome, sexy man," she added as she flushed the toilet behind her. Standing naked in the doorway, she teased, "Gary, one of us is overdressed, and it's definitely not me. Get out of your clothes and join me in the shower." She turned on the water and gave me a playful shake of her hips. I got up, stripped down, and joined her in the shower. We washed each other slowly and made love, savoring every moment. Once we were clean and satisfied, we climbed into bed naked. Louise rested her head on my chest. "So, why were you late?" I asked. "When I left the bar, that guy was already on the ground. I swear, I might have stepped on his hand accidentally, and maybe I didn't step on his marbles on purpose," I said with a grin. "Well," she laughed, "I had to convince my boss not to press charges. You do realize that kid was my boss's son, right?" It's quite embarrassing for me, but he's part of the company, at least for now. He was invited because he's set for some kind of management role. By the way, he and a few other young men who thought they could flirt with me left pretty quickly once the paramedics took him away. His name is Jacob, and yes, he's a complete idiot, she said with a sigh before continuing. Anyway, as the boss's PA, I have a reputation to uphold. Even without panties, I had to smooth things over. Honestly, I think most of the people in the room enjoyed watching you put Jacob in his place. He's tried the same nonsense with a few other married women. I doubt he'll be making that mistake again anytime soon. So, yes, I had to help clean up. The party pretty much ended after your show of chivalry. I chuckled. Sorry, but you told him no 3 times, and he still didn't get the message. Someone had to teach him some manners. Louise laughed too. Maybe it would have been better if you'd beaten him up instead of me. I probably could have, thanks to all those self-defense classes, but it was nice being the damsel in distress for a change, with my knight in shining armor saving me, she said, caressing my face. Thank you for standing up for me. And thanks for dancing with me, all those lessons really paid off. Oh, and breakfast might be interesting. Apparently, everyone knew about you before tonight, but now they really know who you are. In fact, some of my married girlfriends were saying they wish their husbands would defend them the way you did. You might get some messages about giving lessons in chivalry, she teased. I just think a husband should defend his wife's honor and not let some sleazy Romeo interfere, I replied. Anyway, it's time for bed. I love you, Mrs. Smith, I said, kissing her forehead. I love you too, Mr. Smith, my wife whispered sleepily. The next morning, breakfast was quite eventful. Several people came over to shake my hand, and after talking to a few of them, it was clear that Jacob wouldn't be working with his father anymore. We had finished breakfast, and Louise and I were about to head upstairs to pack when her boss, Simon Harris, entered the room and asked everyone to leave except us. Simon Harris, a tall, well-built man in his 60s with gray hair and a bushy mustache, sat down across from us. He glanced from me to my wife. Louise, care to explain why your husband was here last night? He asked, his expression serious. Well, I actually invited him. I booked this place, and if you look at the invitation, it says that 1 guest is allowed. It's in very small print, but it's there in black and white, Louise replied confidently. So anyone on the team could bring a spouse? He examined the invitation closely. Yes, Simon. You could have brought your wife, and the women could have brought their husbands. I don't think anyone really looked at the invitation properly, they just saw an invite to a private party, she continued calmly. Turning to me, he asked, You're Gary, right? Yes, I'm Gary. Nice to finally meet you, Mr. Harris, I said, extending my hand. We shook hands, no machismo, just 2 men greeting each other. You've got rough hands, Gary. Your wife mentioned you're a warehouse manager. Is that correct? He inquired, making small talk. Yes, I manage a team of about 300 people, I responded evenly. He smiled warmly. Relax, Gary. I want my staff to be happy, both at work and at home. Your wife clearly adores you. I often see her smiling at her phone, and I won't ask what kind of messages you send. Don't worry, there won't be any charges against you. My son fell off his chair, hit his hand on the table, and then somehow managed to smack his face too. Honestly, he's a fool, spoiled by my first wife. Actually, I'm not even sure he's mine, but I have to deal with him, he said, getting up. Well, it was nice to meet you, Gary. Louise, if you want a free vacation, book a fortnight at my cottage in Dorset. You know where it is. Now I've got to go, deal with Jacob, and negotiate a raise for you. Gary, take good care of your wife, she's invaluable to the company, and I think even more so to you. Once Simon was out of sight, Louise turned to me and grinned. See, I told you he's a good guy. Now let's pack up and head out. Did you put the picnic supplies in the trunk? Yes, my love. Don't worry, we'll find a nice, quiet spot for lunch. Let's hit the road, I replied.